These cases really affect everybody listening. There's neighbors, parents, grandparents, everybody is affected in these. And we talked last week about how much it affects us. So how important is it to handle these delicate cases? And I think one big tragedy that we see all the time is sleeping deaths. Kids die in different sleep environments all the time. So what are those kind of different environments, and how do you handle those cases specifically?
Two big things that happen with sleeping environments are co-sleeping, number one. Number two is rollover deaths. And then we could throw a third one in there, which is what we call wedging. And those are truly, all three of those are truly tragic. If you talk to 1,000 parents, 9 times out of 10, that parent's going to say that child slept in the bed with us, and some they slept for many months in the bed. Mm-hmm. Some of them will say, well, I have a bassinet over here, or the child won't sleep by itself, things like that. Those are true tragedies. I can go back many years, and we had a case to where a mother had 3 of her kids in the bed. And the reason they were in the bed was because she had been abused as far as domestic violence, and she finally broke that cycle. She escaped. She had her own apartment. Everything was good, but the kids wouldn't come out of her sight, and mainly because of trauma and everything else. And one of the smallest children got rolled on at night and in turn suffocated and passed away. And that was truly a tragedy. You know, she had already been through all this trauma and everything had happened. You know, we can look at another one to where a lot of people sleep with their children and they sleep on the couch. Mm-hmm. And then they'll put them in their arm, like they'll lay them here and they get between the arm and their chest and they go to sleep. Well, the child wiggles and wiggles and gets in between the arm and the armpit and the chest, and in turn, depending on the age of the child, they suffocate to death. So we see a lot of that. Not everybody dies from abuse. Not everybody dies because somebody was neglecting that child. These are true tragedies that should have never happened, but everybody does it. Mm-hmm. And you think nothing's wrong with that, and most of the time there's not. You get tired taking care of kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, kids will wear you down quick, but you did it a million times. You did it that one time and something happens.
Mm-hmm. And more with sleeping and stuff, I think even in like cribs and everything, the way you mentioned wedging, babies wiggle and stuff in their sleep. They're constantly turning all this stuff. So you might put it to sleep in a position that's totally safe, but if you're not checking on it over and over, it can wedge itself in a crack, it can wedge itself between the blankets, anything like that.
And so I thought it was a pretty cool show. I got interested in all these toys that are not there anymore and why.
Yeah.
And I'm like, same thing happens today, you know, as well as I do, that when we get calls all the time on a child death. I talked last week about the swing. Mm-hmm. You know, when you look at that swing, and that swing was made for a child like 2 years to 4 years, and this kid was in that swing, that not only the swing was broke, but also the kid was like 8 months old. It couldn't hold its head up. In turn, it died of positional asphyxia because putting it in that swing that they thought would rock it to sleep, in turn caused its airway to go down and it didn't wake up. Mm-hmm. So that's the tragedies that happen when it comes to the deaths that we deal with little ones.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about, how we can get those things, take off the markets ourselves just by simply putting it on a death certificate or turning that form into that company.
Exactly. Yeah, and that becomes important.
Yeah.
They have investigators just like we investigate, and so we want to use those to our advantage a lot of times.
So another thing you mentioned, which not from a toy, hopefully, but another common cause of kid deaths is drowning, and how preventable drowning is in a lot of ways.